I've been dancing on stage with some of the biggest artists in the world, and
Miss Taylor Dean.
I was like jumping back and forth between different accents, and they were like, Taylor, we just don't know like who you are. Like, what is that?
Taylor is a dancer and actor based in Los Angeles, California.
But this is me.
This is
like,
you.
this is who I am.
Yeah.
Like, I knew that that was what I was gonna do, and I committed my life to being a dancer. I think that anybody telling you you are incapable or is a fool. That's not somebody that you should ever be.
Miss Taylor Dean.
Wee.
What is up, girl?
How are you?
How are you?
I'm good.
I don't think anyone has ever come on the show with chopsticks in their hair.
It's a first for you.
Yeah,
huh?
I think so.
I hope
It's catching me off guard.
I know. I hope your viewers don't mind.
Yeah, what's
sometimes,
the...
sometimes people get a little upset by the chopsticks.
What?
But, man, we're starting strong.
We're
with
starting
this
strong.
One, aren't we? My gosh. You know, they think it's just offensive.
Oh.
Unfortunately. But, you know, Chinese culture has been a major part of my life, my dad's life, and so to me they have a nostalgic value, and I don't know. There's
Why is it a big part of your life?
Well, I think I'm obsessed with my dad, and so he's into Chinese martial arts. He does kung fu. He's a Sifu now.
Oh.
And
What's his first name?
Rich.
Sifu Rich.
Yeah,
What's up?
Sifu Dean.
Sifu Dean. What's good, Sifu Dean?
Yeah, Sifu Dean. So it was something that he...
This man could throw kicks then.
Oh, he can throw all kinds of things.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, no, he's no joke. He's the best. But yeah, it was always a big passion of his. So naturally, being close with my dad, I feel like it just kind of overflowed into my life. And then when I was in high school, I studied Chinese.
Can you speak?
This is the question that people always ask me. And you know what's so sad about the whole situation is if you don't practice a language, you lose it. You know, and who the heck am I going to practice Chinese with? My dad started learning actually after me. So we didn't really have much time, you know, to like talk together before I had moved to California.
Yeah.
And it's
From Colorado.
From Colorado. But I had done some work in China, and I was like, all right, like, this is my moment. Like, I'm really gonna, like, I did, like, got my Rosetta Stone out and, like, did my refresher courses, and I went over there, and my tones were horrible. So there was no patience for me, you know, and I really was trying, but those tones are important.
That's
for you
shocking.
Chinese speakers out there.
That's shocking because, like, when I first met you, I didn't know what your real accent was because you kept doing these, like, you did. I was like, is this chick Australian? Like, I was really, like, caught off guard. And then you switched to, like, a normal tone or, like, your current tone right now. I was like, which one is she?
I know.
You know? It's impressive.
It's very
cool.
confusing. I was shooting a pilot for this show once, and I was doing an interview. Yeah. And I did exactly what you talked about. I was like jumping back and forth between different accents, and they were like, Taylor, excuse me. And I was like, yeah. They're like, we just don't know like who you are. Like, what is that? Like, it's like, what is it? And I was like,
I think you got to keep people on your toes.
Yeah. I'm like, but this is me.
This is
like,
you.
this is who I am.
Yeah.
And they're like, I don't know. We're going to have to talk about this. I'm like, so,
well, I like the chopsticks.
Thank you. Yes,
I think it's like
chopsticks.
an appreciation. There's like
That's
two
what
sides
I
to
say.
it.
That's what I would say.
Like when I just got back from Japan a few months back, and like we wear the kimonos like as most people over there think it as an appreciation.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's what's really interesting, I think, too, when you consider some of these things as an American and in the U.S. versus how some of these things are considered, you know, in other countries. It's interesting how different it is, because I do find that in a lot of other countries, it's an honor for people to embrace their culture and their ways, and they're very excited when someone is interested in that. And unfortunately, I just kind of feel like here in America, that's not the same case. And I don't know if it's just because it's such a melting pot. It's like really the only place in the world where there's so many different people from like so many different walks of life and religion and culture that I don't know, it just leaves room for a little bit of conflict. But yeah, a lot of these chopsticks too, I took from like my favorite restaurants in China. These are actually from China.
Wow. So, we love that.
Beijing, baby. Yeah.
What do you call it? So the first time we hung out, we went camping at Joshua Tree, not Joshua Tree.
Right? Intention Joshua Tree, actually not Joshua Tree.
It was, what's it called? Where was it at?
I don't remember. Even tell you. In between?
No, it was a state park.
In between.
It
was a state park.
It was something state park. It was hot. We were there for only a day, but it was good vibes.
Yeah, it was good vibes.
I was really confused by you there too, because I think you're the only person I ever met who's like a fan of spiders.
Yeah, you know, that's like a growing adoration, because I feel like when I was younger, I was like, spiders, you know, but like as I've gotten older, I just think they're like kind of fascinating.
Yeah. Well,
like I don't want them crawling on me. Like I'll definitely still be like, ugh, but I let them live in my house. I did have to kill one the other day because it was pretty big and it was like in my bedroom, and I was like, dang, like I got bit by something here, and so I was like, man, I really want to let y'all live, but you're trying to eat me.
Usually you save it and put it outside.
Yeah. Well, I have done that as well, but it was late and. Unfortunately, yeah.
I thought about you yesterday because I was with a friend of mine, and he's this lovely gay gentleman, and we were on the phone, and he was freaking out on FaceTime, getting his spider spray and screaming all the time. I was like, dang, there's two different people in the world. There's the Taylor Deans of the world, and there's this gentleman.
Yeah. Well, just for some context, I found a major black widow.
This thing was fat.
Yeah.
It was big. It was a big boy.
It was
a big girl.
It was really big. It was like, you guys, like this, it was a big spider, and you had the big red butt, and it was super cool. And I like came out of the bathroom, and I was like, yo guys, you have to come. And they're like, we're kind of just, chilling by the fire. And I'm like, no, this is important. You have to come see this.
Yeah.
And so I dragged them to come see it, and they were like, oh yeah, like that's a big spider.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I found one at the house. Did I tell you this too?
No.
I got back to my apartment, and Matt was laying out in the backyard, and he looked up, and there was like one outside, like on this fountain, right? And we have like a tanning kind of chair.
Okay.
And he was like, Taylor. And then of course that was my new obsession. But that one, unfortunately, it had like 3 eggs nests, or 3 egg sacs. And they have 255 spiders in each one of those egg sacs.
So did you research? You know how many spiders are in each egg sac?
Oh yeah, and it's like I would let them live, but
we really got to kill these egg sacs?
I know, I did feel really bad, and so but Dolce, my little poodle, he's the best. He's a little
shouts out Dolce.
Yeah, shout out Dolce. But he goes out back there, and I mean, God forbid, like I would never forgive myself if I chose a spider over Dolce. So I did have to tell the gardeners, and that story didn't end happily. So.
That's real.
Yeah,
how's it making a living moving your body in a pretty manner?
AKA being a professional dancer.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so multifaceted. You know, it's kind of hard to narrow it down to.
Here, let's start from the very beginning. Like, what is dance?
What is dance?
Yeah.
What is dance? I mean, what is dance to me? I don't know. Like for me, dance has been a passion. It's been a major driving force of my life, and kind of a compass in a lot of ways. As far as more than half of my life, it's been something that I've been fixated on and chased and pursued, and experienced a lot of life within. So I don't know. I mean, a dance is an adventure. It's.
If you had to describe it in a way of like, if some little 3-year-old asked you what dance is, how would you describe it?
I mean, I think it's obviously an art. It's a beautiful space to express yourself and enjoy, and kind of touch and communicate with other people. Something I really love about dance, and I was actually thinking about this on my way here, and I don't even know why, but it's just kind of like a universal language. You know what I mean? I think with a lot of the travel and stuff I've done with dance, something I've realized that even through language barriers and things of this nature, like you can really connect and find common ground with people through it. And so, I mean, it's something that connects us. It's something that, you know, grows us and cultivates us. And I don't think a 3-year-old would understand any of those things.
I was like, sick.
This 3-year-old is super smart.
Super smart. It's like these, I'm one of these Einstein 3-year-olds with like crazy IQ.
Right? Maybe. My baby will be. So
Oh, there we go.
my baby will get it.
talking to your 3-year-old baby. This is what you're going to tell
Yeah,
them.
this is what I'm going to say. They're going to be like, what?
What?
Huh? Mama, can I have a bottle? Just kidding. They won't use bottles by then. I think they'll be over it. 3?
Yeah.
Do babies drink bottle at 3? I don't think so.
I don't know.
They shouldn't.
What's that movie where when you pee in the pool it turns blue?
Oh. I don't know, but I know it scarred a lot of people.
That's the one with Adam Sandler. Yeah, basically it was in the movie where like
Is it Grown Ups?
Grown Ups.
It is Grown Ups.
Maybe.
Man,
No, it's not.
it feels like it makes sense.
I was just thinking about that because there was a 7-year-old still breastfeeding, and I was like,
oh yeah,
that's kind of weird.
That's kind of that dark humor a little bit.
Yeah, you can't make those movies anymore.
Yeah, no, that might lead to a sense of conflict for sure.
So what? When did you know that you wanted to dance?
You know, I always, since I was a kid, loved performing and, you know, kind of playing dress up and dancing
you
around.
You still play dress up.
I know I do. I do. I still thoroughly enjoy dress up, even as an almost 30-year-old woman. Some things never get old. But yeah, I mean, I think it was just, not so much dance, but I think kind of just being a performer was very much so a part of who I was innately, just as a very small child. And my mom...
at what age do you think you were like, oh, like, I love this?
I mean... my mom put me into dance when I was, I don't know how, like as soon as you're old enough to do it. So like maybe 3,
okay,
yeah.
Back to 3.
And my mom, we're back to 3. Very smart. And my mom
Taylor
was a dancer.
Kid, guys.
Yeah, no, that was my brother. That was my brother. But yeah, my mom was a dancer. And so obviously that was kind of her first thing that she kind of thought to put me in. And my dad was like, my daughter's going to do a team sport. So my dad let me finish until I do my recital.
What team sport?
I think we did, I can't remember if we did soccer or basketball first, but I think I did soccer, and I like was not a fan of being like kicked in the shins, but maybe this is also something that I made up. I'm not sure. Yeah. But I do know for a fact that I did basketball and my dad was my coach, which is hilarious.
I could see you doing some like High School Musical type of basketball.
Yeah, this wasn't that, but I mean, in a perfect world, I have the funniest picture of me trying to do basketball too, and it's like our whole team, and you know, everybody has their like untucked shirts and their basketball shorts, and then there's me like with my shirt perfectly tucked in and a slick back pony and like frilly socks, and I'm just like so not supposed to be playing basketball, but again, love for my dad would like kind of do whatever. So. But, I mean, definitely, you know, to bring it back to your question, I think it's always kind of been in the world of what I wanted to do. And then after I kind of did some of those miscellaneous sports, I ended up being a gymnast. And I was a very serious gymnast. Oh, yeah. Like, I was 8 years old, 24 hours a week in the gym.
Gymnast is tough. I have a couple friends who are like very good gymnasts, Olympians, and it kills your body.
Yeah, it's no joke. Yeah, it's really no joke. I mean, and it's magnificent, it's wonderful, but I mean, it's the sacrifice and the cost of it. I mean, dance is similar, but
this makes sense though, because like there's some dancers who, including yourself, that I'll see do like, I don't know, land into a flip in a weird spot. I'm like, that's not normal dance. Like, no way you learn that normal dancing.
No, and a lot of dancers will start doing something like gymnastics for sure. Like that's a
or
strong...
like cheer is a good thing too, right? Because you do like tucks and everything during cheer as well.
Yeah, so it definitely is a great segue. But when I was a gymnast, my best friend was a dancer. Okay. And so that's really where I think my obsession started. And then honestly, like I think a lot of it was just like the costumes and the music and like, I don't know, dressing up and all of the things. And so I got, you know, I was very captivated by it. And she had a dance studio in her house, and she lived right down the street from me. So we would go there and we would like make up dances.
How old was she, and she had a dance studio in her house?
She was very rich.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So rich people just have dance studios in their house? Yeah. That's dope.
Yeah. Rich people love dance studios. No, her brother was in hockey. She was a dancer, and they were really into it. Like they bled that, you know? Dancing. So, yeah. So
I find it so fascinating with dance because after I moved out here and dating a dancer, and I didn't know like dance was like the capital. I mean, sorry, LA was the capital of dance. Like
right.
everyone from around the world comes here to take classes.
Yeah.
And so I learned a few choreographies, and like my brain hurt.
I know.
Like I was getting so frustrated. I was like, and I'm a personal trainer, and I felt like I have a good awareness of body movements and
right.
doing things, like I can mimic things properly with a workout. Like, oh, I could figure this out. Not the case.
Yeah.
Like if you could take it, yourself back to early stages of Taylor, like how was that process back then, and like how did you like just continue to wanting to get better at it, even though like it probably was harder back then? Like now you probably learn choreography, like, and it's fascinating. It reminds me of when someone, a musician, a pianist, reads a sheet of music and they just play.
Yeah.
I feel like you just play now, you know, you see it and then you just play. Yeah. And for me, I look at it and it's like me reading Chinese.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just like, what the fuck is this shit?
But people say that all the time. And I think like what my response always is to that is like, it's a muscle, right? Like just like anybody that has a craft that they're passionate about and turn their passion into a career, especially like there's certain aspects of that like that is your job, you know, that you have to be superb at doing that in order to make it superb. You must be superb. You know, in order to make it a career and really be able to financially support yourself off of it. So I think a lot of those things that you would like consider that you train in order to be able to do that is like, you know, kind of being able to pick up choreography and being adaptable and all of those things. And honestly, that's something that like I've struggled with. That's never been my strong suit. And dance in general,
what hasn't been your strong suit?
Just like picking up choreography really fast, or being like, you know, super adaptable, and at least compared to some of the people that I've, you know, known in my life. I feel like in general, like it's so funny, like I feel like I've had such a beautiful dance career, but I think a lot of it's just been because of my work ethic and commitment and like discipline in my craft, because I've never necessarily felt that like the skill of dancing was something that came super naturally to me. I feel like the skill of performance was something that I was innately kind of born with, but the actual skill of dancing was something that like I really had to commit to getting good at, you know. I didn't really have.
Can you describe what you mean by like discipline of dance?
I think just like when I talk about you know, technique, and some people have like natural ability or like really gorgeous feet or really open hips, or you know, just
I
like
want gorgeous feet.
I know, I love a good gorgeous foot.
I do too. I feel like I've seen some ugly feet out there.
Oh, I have a cleft foot on my right side now. I sprained my ankle and I like I know it's so sad. It like breaks my heart as a dancer because I'm like, how did this happen to me? But you know, as you get older, in you know, commercial dance, you don't dance barefoot nearly as often, so it's kind of like little things like that can slip through the cracks. But yeah, I mean, just being
barefoot helps out a lot, like in all aspects of your life, like
grounding, earthing they call it.
Yeah, did I tell you about the I've been doing some barefoot runs?
No,
like in the mountains.
No, tell me.
Yeah, so at this gym at Nomad that I train at, they started training in these Mazzatli sandals. So they're basically, you know how a flip-flop has like the one ring, like that in between your big toe and your second toe?
Yeah.
So there's two of them. So there's one at your right there, and then there's another like loop holding your foot 2 toes down.
Okay.
So it's like a gripping. And then it has a strap behind your ankle.
Okay.
So now you have like this flip-flop that's not a flip-flop, that's pretty secure, that will stay on your foot. So they're running like 8 to 15 miles a day in these things. And I'm just like, what?
Like, what's the purpose of something like that? Like,
we're just talking about grounding. We're talking about your feet structure. We're talking about feet muscles, so you don't get bad feet. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, screw it. Like, they must know something I don't know. So I tried them out. I bought them. And then we went running, and I started going hiking with them and everything like that. Feet pain went away, ankle pain went away, knee pain went away, hip pain went away. Everything went away. Wow. And I was like, that's interesting. Yeah. And so then they started doing like when it's rainy and it's kind of cool, like similar to like the beach, we'd go barefoot. And like my feet were so sore because your feet never touch the ground, back to grounding. And you build all these muscles and senses that your body initially knows. Like think about our ancestors, how they never wore shoes. Right. Shoes weren't a thing. Right. And so going back to like that historical, what our innate ancestors did and what our bodies technically supposed to do, like shoes aren't technically normal. You know, they're man-made things that you put on your feet.
Right.
So
you also think about like the evolution of humans, and it's like, dang, did we evolve to be less?
Yeah.
To our feet, not do what they once did.
I know.
You know?
Someone took it a step further, and I listened to podcasts the other day, and someone stopped using toothpaste, and I was like, I don't know if I could go there.
Yeah, no. That's like some like naked and afraid stuff. You know, they're like flossing with their hair and like picking their teeth with like straw from the ground. I'm like, no, it's not for me. Mm-hmm. I got to keep these teeth at least kind of nice.
I mean, they look white. They look very white. No, we got a wedding coming up.
We got a wedding coming up. We do have a wedding coming up, and I actually just chipped my tooth.
Oh no!
I know.
What did you do? What did you do?
I was filming.
You were fighting some chick?
No, I wish I had a better story. I was filming for Mass, like and we had like these props, and they were like guitars, and I like just knocked my tooth, and I chipped my tooth, and I'm like, dude, like,
it's not bad.
Like, I mean, I get so many battle wounds from like, and I know.
You gotta come up with better stories. That was kind of boring.
Well, it's not my best. Not my best. We'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah. What made you decide to move out to LA for dance?
Well, when I was kind of 12 years old, my dad finally said, like, all right, like, you can dance. The dance studio opened up down the street. And honestly, like, since that day, like, that is what I wanted to do. And I did
when
not.
When he gave you permission to
Yeah.
Not necessarily permission, but support.
Yeah, for sure. And, like, you know, I had to do kung fu with him for a year.
So you could throw some kicks too.
It was just a year until I got my white sash. But yeah, like after I did that, he kind of was like, you know, the studio opened up down the street. I was a little older, and he had his reasonings that I understand so much more now as to like why he was hesitant to me getting into dance. That like I think should my children, you know, feel compelled to do so, I think I would consider before being like, yeah, let's go, you know. But yeah, since I was 12, like I knew that was what I was going to do. And I committed my life from then to when I moved out when I was 19 to being a dancer. Like I sacrificed. I started out at this studio that was up the street from me, and I loved it, and it became my home, and I was there all the time, and I got really close with the studio owner. And you know, then the conversation, you know, I'm getting a little older, and I think I'm like 15 now, and I'm like, you know, it's kind of, you're starting to look at you know, different schools and stuff, and things of that nature start to come into play. And I was like, I'm not going to school, like I'm moving to LA to be a dancer. And
what gave you the confidence to, I guess, make that decision at that early of an age of like, oh, this is what I'm gonna do, and that's all I'm gonna do?
Man, I wish I could say in particular. I think it's just like when you feel like you have a calling for your life and something that you really, really love and are willing to commit to, like you just do it. Like it's not like I didn't even consider anything else. Like I just knew, which is a huge blessing, because I've had a lot of friends that didn't have that, and I've watched how the kind of issues that can welcome into someone's life, not really knowing where to put your energy and your time and your focus. So that was definitely a huge blessing for me. But yeah, I just knew. And I think too, like having the support of my parents, because I was so committed, and they saw the sacrifice I was willing to make and how hard I worked, and they were behind me all the way because of that. And so I think, you know, a combination of just an immense sense of love for it, and then also, you know, parents that believed in me and sacrificed for me. And
is that where you got your work ethic from too?
Absolutely. Like, you know, excuse me.
Because the way you're talking about right now, I've met a lot of dancers or creative people in LA. There's so many creative individuals in LA, but I wouldn't say a lot of them are quote unquote hardworking. Like they still live for the weekends. They live for going out and enjoying this LA scene that is awesome. You could go to concerts every night. You have downtown, that's a different world. You have the ocean, Santa Monica scene, and it's very attractive to the world. Might as well the people who live in it, you know. And there's a lot of creatives out here who are trying to make it, but are they? Because, you know, that hard work, sometimes I just see a lacking. Yeah,
for sure. And I also think too, it's just a matter of, you know, the way our youth is being brought up nowadays, like the idea of like respect and discipline and sacrifice. unfortunately, I'm noticing is more and more absent. So I think a lot of that comes into play, especially when an individual wants to move and chase a dream. Like some of those things just are not refined within them. And so I don't know. I think it all comes down to self-awareness. I think a lot of the time, like, I think that knowing, like, okay, this is what I want. There's someone out there that's willing to give everything they have in order to get this. And that's who I have to fight to get the job. Yeah. Who's better than me? Who has, more tools than I do? Like, that's who your competition is. And I think that when you really want to make something happen, like, you have to have the foresight to be able to make some of those sacrifices. And that, granted, like, people move out here to be a creative, kind of like I did, like right outside of high school.
What age were you?
I was 19.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of graduated younger. On the younger side of my class, I was like right at the cutoff. So I actually stayed home for a year because I had hip surgery when I was 16. And so I lost a year at this new studio that I ended up, my parents were like, if you want to.
Hips clearly work, guys.
Yeah, they work.
They work.
All good. God bless. But yeah, my parents had moved me to this studio that would kind of bred dancers to move out to LA, and successfully had done so. And they were like, if you really want to do this.
The Colorado studio?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's called Michelle Latimer Dance Academy. Shout out.
Shout out.
But yeah, that they, my parents were like, I was like, I really want to do this. And they were like, all right, well,
fun place.
You need to go to the best of the best. Like, if you're serious about this, like, we need to take you to the best of the best. And that was a really hard transition. But again, that goes into like some of the things that like I had access to within the support of my parents that helped me to really come out here and already be exposed to that kind of thought. So definitely having a really wonderful role model in what that would look like helped me a lot when I moved out here, because like you said, I do think that is a big problem, and unfortunately what gets in a lot of people's way. And I'm not saying you shouldn't come out here and have fun, and that I never missed an audition or something because I went to some event the night before. Like, I had moments like that, but they were moments, and they were moments that after they happened, I was like,
we got to fix that.
We got to fix that. And not everybody, it all comes down to like, how bad do you want it, and do you understand that like you have to sacrifice to get what you want, and anything worth having is not easily accomplished.
100%.
It's not handed to you. So
what was it like when you moved out here? Like, was it like a big culture shock, or what was it? What did you hit the ground running? Like, what was the game plan like when you got when you landed?
I definitely kind of hit the ground running. I mean, I was very blessed. Like I said, I was at a studio that kind of had already cultivated dance. That's my word today, I guess. Cultivated. Had kind of bred some dancers to come out here and do the dang thing. And so I had some really good friends that had come out here before me, friends that had come out before them, so I already kind of had a basis. I had
some friends,
dance fam, kind of out here that really helped with that transition, because I have 3 younger siblings. We had a bunch of dogs, very close with my family. So going from living in a house like that to an apartment by yourself is a big difference. And 100%. I also went from like, here's your schedule, you go to school, you go to work, then you have dance competitions, you have dance class, you have dance convention, like, this is what you do. And I was very good at following that, but then
very regimen.
Yes. And I think that's part of the issue too, kind of go back to what we were talking about, is like, you have to be like very self-sufficient when you come out here, and that is a skill in itself. And it's something I still have to like
get busy, because you can
create structure for yourself. Structure. You have to be committed to creating structure and boundaries of things that like you have to do.
How do you do that?
I mean, I think for me, like, I found little ways to keep myself accountable, even for like something that's as simple as like making sure that I'm staying up on like my training, and that my body is in the shape it needs to be order to be doing 12-hour days of dancing, on set. Like, I'll sign up for things like ClassPass, where it's like, if I don't, ClassPass. If I don't go, like, not only do I lose the credits, but I also have to pay a fee. Just like things like that I think really help you stay accountable. And I think the thing with that is like you just don't really have anyone to help you stay accountable. Like you have to keep yourself accountable. Like my accountability is I'm not where I want to be. And so if I do not do these things to get me where I want to be, it'll never happen. And so that's kind of where I think a lot of my accountability came from. And also, like I said, like I mean, I just had wonderful parents that like checked in on me, and I was very fortunate that when I did move out to LA, I had the financial support of them, and they kind of helped me, you know, as I got my footing and stuff. But that came with, you know,
hard work.
That came with hard work, and that also came with like rules, you know, like this is what we expect of you. And if you do not meet our expectations, this will change. And that was kind of the same thing when I was at home as well. And the reason I was able to move out to California with this support is because I listened to those expectations and I met them, you know? So like, again, having that kind of having exposure to what that looks like prior to like just like coming into the dog eat dog world of Los Angeles, where it's like a playground, I think, you know, really, really helped me, along with having people out here that like I was comfortable with, that like welcomed me with open arms. I was very blessed with, you know, getting an agent, for example, like because of the studio I went to. Brian Friedman, who's you know, renowned choreographer, he had come to our studio in Colorado, which Michelle brought a lot of guest choreographers out. And that was part of why my dad was like, this is the studio you need to go to, you know? And, you know, I kind of met him there. And then when I moved to LA, you know, he saw something in me, and I needed to get an agent. And so he set up a meeting for me and put in a good word. And I went in, and I remember my parents were like across the street with Matt, my husband to be, believe it or not, who was just my friend at the time. But anyway, they were across the street, and I went in did he
live in Colorado?
I met him in Colorado.
Oh, that's so cute. Yeah, you guys have such a cute love story.
I know.
Love it.
For another podcast.
We could talk about Matt all day, guys.
Yeah, we'll be here forever. But yeah, so anyway, I thought I was just going in for a meeting just to kind of like, hi, I'm Taylor, you know, but they offered me a contract on the spot per, you know, A, Brian's recommendation, but B, hopefully they saw something, you know, in me.
What was that feeling like?
I mean, it was amazing. It's like this feeling, like when I was at the studio, I struggled. Like I didn't start dancing until I was 12. I was at one of the top 7 studios in the country. And I went from being a big fish in a little pond at my prior studio to, you know, a very small fish in the sea. And I think that that was hard. That was really hard. And so I dealt with a lot of rejection, like with guest choreographers that would come and they would set pieces at the studios, and you had to audition, and I like literally never made the pieces. And all of my friends, I never was chosen to be a part of the piece. I would audition, and they would essentially be like, no, thank you. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that was really difficult. That was really difficult.
I feel like that's a really tough spot just in the entertainment world with like acting as well, or writing or dancing, is like you literally get so many no's, like legit no's. I mean, nowadays it's kind of just like they don't respond back to you. Yeah, you're just like, oh, I guess it's a no. I guess it's been 3 months. I guess it's a no. Again. That's fine. Yeah. Oh, you're totally good. I should have warned you about that.
This is when Matt would go, just another day in the life of Taylor May. I wish I could say this is like a special circumstance, but like, this is my life. Watch me unplug something as I pick this up.
No, you're good.
Gosh, you're so clean with your coasters, and here I am just spilling everywhere.
No, it's all good. It's meant. Things that are good are meant to be broken, I guess.
Well, now I know. Now I know.
Just land down softly.
Welcome to the show, guys. Welcome to the show.
I've been playing this game a lot in my life. Back to, you know, how the self-discipline and stuff about just like how to structure yourself, and I kind of started playing a game with my calendar. I was like, how much dope shit can you get done in a day? Like with color code and everything. Can you do like 2 podcasts, train 4 clients, go surfing, do a hike, like overload
yeah.
And still be healthy for like a long enough period of time, like eat the right foods. Like it's crazy.
You never know unless you test yourself.
Try it out. It went like, I think like 28 days, and then I finally got like a little sniffle, and I was like, all right.
You're like, I'm sick. This is a bad idea.
Bad idea. 4 hours of sleep for 28 days,
yeah,
guys.
But then you know what your boundary is. Like what is attainable. Yeah, your threshold. What's attainable and what's not. what's worthy of your time and energy and what's hindering your ability to get where you want to be.
Yeah. Have you, I'm at a point in my life right now where there's a good amount of friends and people who want my attention, and it's been really hard to say no, but I'm learning to like have to.
Yeah.
Like, have you gotten to that point?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. We call it like recategorizing things. Recategorizing.
Okay.
I think you get to a point in your life where I think it's really difficult to embrace the change that comes along with like just being spread thinner, you know. Say like, I know for me it's really difficult for me to have a career that is self-motivated, you know, that like isn't gonna happen unless I do something about it. You know, take care of my health, take care of my dog, pour into the relationship with the man that I'm gonna marry, you know, have a spiritual life and a church that I also want to be invested in, have a dog, clean the house.
Dog made it twice,
great.
guys.
I know. Oh, great. He's super important. You know, and then have friends that like you also need your time and your energy, and it's a very difficult thing. And I think for me, I just kind of like had to take a step back and be like, okay, I have so many people that I love, but like, are we making each other more? Yeah. Am I making them more, and are they making me more? Yeah. And if not, like, there's a recategorization that has to happen, or a reconsideration that has to happen.
What are the characteristics of a good friend to you?
Oh man, I think just someone that's like present and challenging. Honestly, like when it comes down to like my friends that are like my ride or dies, like it's like people that like we have super honest, meaningful conversation with. You know, you can have a million friends that you can go out and get drunk and have fun with and laugh, and I have so many of those friends from the industry that I love, and I have some wonderful memories with them. But like when it comes down to like what really is a good friend, it's like, can we have those hard conversations? Like, can I be vulnerable with you, and can you be vulnerable with me, and can we maybe say some things that are hard for the other to hear, you know, stuff like that. I don't know. And also, like, I mean, for me, like, I love to laugh. I love to, like, do, you know.
You're funny, dude.
Thank you. They're like, she is? We can't tell. What the heck?
I was worried because when I first met Taylor, we were in, like, a 2-hour car ride. And I was like, how is this going to go? Yeah. I don't think I laughed more in a long time. I was like, this girl's hilarious.
I do love to make people laugh. I'm a total goofball.
No, but the funny thing is, you don't try.
Thank
like,
you.
you don't try.
Effortlessly funny.
Yeah, effortlessly funny.
Yeah, I like, my dad's a total goofball.
Yeah.
And I definitely think that, like, I kind of got that from him. It's funny because I feel like...
We love Rich.
We do. We love Rich. And we also love Kelly. She's the best. That's
Come on, Kelly.
She's the best. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of funny because I feel like a lot of the time people see me at first and they are like, oh, I have an idea about this girl, you know?
Wearing chopsticks on this podcast.
Right. You know? And then I feel like they get to know me or just even spend a little bit of time with me and they're like, this girl's a fool. Like, this girl is like such a weirdo, such a goofball, which, I mean, I like that. I think it's nice to...
Well, it's such a weird dichotomy because, like, if you look at... I was stalking your dance videos right before this. I was like, okay, let's go.
She can dance? Wow.
Yeah. Well, it's not that. It's like, I feel like dancers also getting, like, a character. Like, based on the story of the song or, like, what the mood is or what the message is behind the lyrics, you know?
Right.
What's that feeling like? Because I can't articulate my body in a way to portray a mood for a song. I just don't have that vocabulary. You know, my body can't do that. And for you could probably listen to something and you could move your body in a way that visually someone else can interpret that mood. You know? But how is that? That's such a cool thing.
Man, I don't know. I think it's kind of just like goes hand in hand with like the skill set that is needed and kind of the art of it all, you know what I mean? I think it's like the passion that you see in that. Obviously it's a skill as well, but I think that if there's a moment that you're feeling that, a lot of those feelings or moods are a choice and you can choose different things to express. And you'll see that, like, you know, when you see these dancers videos where there's multiple people posting the same class video, like you'll see someone who makes a different choice, and that's always really cool because
technically they're the same moves.
Yeah, for sure, but the intention you put behind them can be completely different. So that's another really cool thing about dance is it really is up for interpretation, you know, especially when it comes to training and whatnot. Obviously, on a job, like, you have to look a certain way, express a certain thing, unless you're given permission to do otherwise. But, yeah, I don't know. I think there's certain moments. Me, I'm like, dee, 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 dee. I don't know why I'm doing this so much.
It looks fun.
Can't stay still for like 20 seconds. But yeah, I think, you know, there's certain songs and there's certain moves and certain like choreography that just like make you feel a certain type of thing. Like, you know, it's like, it's a similar feeling to like when you're out with your friends or even driving in the car and like a song comes on, y'all are like, oh, you know, and you
like how we bumped it to Taylor Swift.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like that.
We bumped it to Love Story, guys.
We did. We were like, it was like
Hold
right
up,
after.
Taylor and Christina were talking mad shit.
I'm so sorry, Taylor,
Swift.
But it's true.
But then I was like, really? And I threw on Love Story and they belted it. I was like, that's why Taylor's the GOAT.
Okay, it's a long span of a career that she's had. We were down for the OG, and then things got a little weird. Things got a little rocky.
Fair.
So, yes, OG Tay, we are so down for. But yes, it's similar to that. You know what I mean? And I think that, like, anyone can understand that. Like, naturally, music makes you kind of, I mean, I always wonder about this, though. When I see people that are listening to music and they're just like,
I think I do that
I'm
sometimes.
like, how? I even if it's you just, you know, like there's no like this or nothing, but just like.
That's back to like the body vocabulary of feeling it. That's what I'm saying, you know, because like I went on a run with a dancer the other day and he had headphones. I was like, bro, we're running in nature, this and that. He was like, no, like music's my superpower. Like when I turn that on, like my body gets in a different gear. And I was like, what? Like I don't understand that like the way you guys do.
Yeah. For sure. I mean, yeah, it's kind of like it is. It's fuel for our art. You know, it inspires us. It motivates us. And so I think dancers have a very close connection with music, you know, and it's also our job a lot of the time, too, to like communicate it's like, this is why we're so important to like artists, right? It's like.
Yeah, imagine a singer singing without. Especially a pop singer singing without no movement or dancers in the background.
Right. It's so valuable and it really is so important and it completely adds to the experience of, you know, consuming a show. You know, it really does. And that's why it's difficult like that, you know, being a dancer, because it's like we are so vital to the overall package of what needs to be sold, but we don't get valued or treated that way. Like we're so underpaid. It's so sad, especially for like the sacrifice of what goes into like being a professional dancer and the toll that it takes on your body and the amount of money it takes to just invest into your body and make sure you're good there. Like for what we do and what we sacrifice, we should be definitely compensated way better than we are.
And it's crazy because a lot of people just don't understand it. Like when I grew up in my hometown in Fresno, California, and I would see these shows, or I don't know, American Idol had some dancers like in the final endings, like that's what we watch. Yeah. You don't pay attention. I mean, you value the show, but you don't pay attention to each specific dancer.
Right.
Like obviously they make the show, but you don't look at just one dancer. Like it's a whole combination of them together with the singer that makes the whole entire show. Yeah. You know, and I don't think in the back of my head I was like, oh, that must be really hard, blah, 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 this and that. Like dancing was not a thing where I came from. And to a lot of people, dancing's not a thing where they live. Like LA probably has most of the dancers in the world. I mean, in the United States, at least. Very concentrated. You know? And so is New York with like the Broadway stuff. So I guess like for that point, how does it get known to more areas of the world? Because the only way that can change is by letting it be known to a bigger audience. Well, you mean the importance of dancers or just dance in general? No, you're talking about like being underpaid for dancing stuff, like just dancers in general. Man, I mean, I think there's a lot of dancers out there right now that are fighting for that. I mean, just look at the strike that's going on within the union, and that's even above and beyond. Yeah. You know. Oh, is SAG dancing too? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, and we have the Dancers Alliance, which, you know, consistently fights for our rights as dancers and our rates and all of those things. So there's definitely things in motion. I didn't know the strike was part of that. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so, cool.
especially like with all this stuff with AI, like that's just so crazy, and that's above and beyond just dancers, you know, that's for a lot of people.
It's
but
everything.
Like, yeah, I mean, I had a friend that I just worked with her the other day, and she was doing background on a job. This is, you know, prior to the strike, and they wanted to scan her face before she left and take a bunch of pictures of her, and they said it was so that they could create an AI character of her to put in case they need to like adapt shots or use her. And it's just so crazy because she doesn't get paid for that, or like what, you get like some kind of buyout.
She did it?
I don't know if she did. I don't know. She just was telling me about it, and we were like working, so we didn't get to like really dive into the conversation.
It is crazy. Have you studied it at all?
The AI stuff?
Yeah.
Kind of. Matt's really into it. Like his chat GPT. I'm like, get off that thing. This godforsaken thing.
He gives you the Spark Notes.
Yeah.
So I have a client. He's, I think, 18, 19 years old, right? Personal training client. I've been training with him since he was like 13, tiny little guy. And he's like a good looking, fit young man now. He's about to go to college. And he's been messing around with AI, and he knows I have a podcast. So he like used chat GPT or whatever to like scan my podcast or whatever of my voice. And so like one day we went training, and he was like, you want to hear something cool? He typed in this thing and he played it for me, and it was my voice, but I didn't say those things, and it sounded so accurate.
That's trippy.
And I was like, dude, what?
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, I just scanned your voice for like 9 hours of you talking, and all those words they know and they picked up.
It's crazy.
I was like, it's ridiculous.
It's nonsense.
Yeah.
There's no reason for it. Like, other than like to cut costs. Like it's just,
definitely to cut costs. Yeah.
It's just it's so sad. It's so sad because it's just robbing the artistry out of so many things. And I mean, I'm all for, you know, growing and advancing, but at the same time, like, at what cost?
Yeah.
You know, bigger is not always better.
Yeah. The craziest thing with AI is everyone thought that the first thing that would go was not creativity. Mm-hmm. But it ended up being the first thing that went. You know how everyone lost their mind over the Instagram AI photos? Like, that was one of the biggest things that took off initially.
I know.
I was like, what is that?
Well, I also think, too, like, people are very enamored by it, which is interesting to me because it's like they're super weary and scared of it and striking because of it, yet those same people are the ones that are, you know, playing with this AI because it's interesting, and I think that's kind of part of the problem. I also feel like if you don't
understand it, like, you will fall behind. In a lot of industries. Yeah,
I'm very interested to see how it all plays out because it, you know, I mean, I'm not one to live in fear, but it's definitely something that we've never, you know, really seen before to this capacity. And so I'm interested to see kind of the long-term effect of what it's going to have and how much is going to be allowed and how much is going to, how much is going to have to be fought and pushed against in order to kind of stop it, because it does feel like this, like, you know, rolling boulder that's gaining speed.
Only time will tell.
Only time will tell.
What's your favorite type of dance?
My favorite type of dance, man.
Because I feel like your arsenal is like pretty dope. Like, I was looking at all your stuff. I was like, whoa, that's totally different than that, and it's totally different than that. It's totally different than that.
Oh, thank you. I feel like recently I've been trying to not peg myself in just as, you know, one thing as much. I did a job with this choreographer, and then I, you know, went and took her master class afterwards, and it was totally different. It was like, you know, kind of like this like super weird contemporary like movement. And I do a lot of like sexy, you know, hip hop or heels stuff. And she said, Taylor, don't put yourself in a box. Don't put yourself in a box.
I mean, hip hop and heels is totally different though.
Yeah, for sure. But like, you know, the two worlds can commingle for sure. But yeah, so I've tried to be a little bit more aware of, you know, not getting too stuck in one thing. But what really I love nowadays is kind of going back to the basics. Like, when I was at the studio, I loved musical theater. I loved the idea of, you know, Broadway and all of that kind of stuff, which is funny because then I moved to LA and I just got really involved with like the jazz funk, commercial dance, like hip hop kind of world. But I definitely feel a strong sense of my heart still very pulled towards that like kind of musical theater basis, which is just so funny because it's like so not what I'm doing.
You think you're gonna try dabble in it, dip your toe?
I don't know, maybe. Yeah. Like, I mean, the possibilities are endless, but I don't know. I'm not like trying to move to New York or anything, but you know, if I could do it over, I would be better about not allowing myself to be pinned down in one space. I think I came out here, I was very successful in the world of like sexy, hot girl kind of thing.
Dancing.
Yeah, and I think I really embraced that. Like I said, like it just kind of, it's like,
kind of fell into it. It's like,
well, I think, like I said, like when I was at the studio, I struggled and I didn't get chosen for a lot of things. And then when I moved out here, like I was chosen, you know, and I was picked, and it was for some things that were like kind of a little bit more in that world. And so I felt confident there, and I kind of left some of the other skills and assets that I had that were just as good,
yeah.
you know, to kind of like wither a little bit. And I think that's the one thing that if I could do it over, well, not the one thing, but one of the things that if I could do over, I would have a little bit more balance on, because now it's like I'm way more drawn to like TV and film than I am to like touring and music videos, you know, like that's, you just kind of change and a lot more
I
of
love
that
that
stuff.
because a lot of people will say their story like, I wouldn't regret, I wouldn't change anything, you know, type of deal, because that's the story that made me who I am today and stuff like that. But I have respect that you said that, because that is one thing that you're like, oh, now looking back at it, that would be something cool to say that I also did.
Yeah, and I mean, like, people that say that, like, yes, I agree. Like, obviously, every step I took led me to where I am now. But if I had to share any sense of advice to little Taylor or another girl who's moving out here with the dream that I did in the same space that I was, that's some advice that I would offer, you know? So I'm not like, man, I wish I could redo it all. But at the same time, like, if I did, that's definitely something that I would make sure I kind of held on to, you know?
Do you have a moment? This moment could be a celebrity that you danced for, or a show that you were on, or a TV show that you were a dancer in the back, that you were like, whoa, like, that's dope. I did the thing. Like, I did what 12-year-old Taylor knew that she could do.
Man. I mean, yeah, I've definitely, like, it's weird because you kind of have multiple of those moments in your career. I mean, ideally.
Yeah.
And I definitely have, but it's like those moments can be so fleeting.
Do you remember the first one?
The first one... I mean, I was very fortunate, and when I first moved to LA, I was here for a month, and I booked X Factor, which was like a really big competition show.
Love X Factor.
And it was a very sought after dance job in the community. Really? Yeah, and it was, you know, it was the first job I booked, and I booked it very quickly. And so coming from really struggling, you know, to be a part of things at the studio, to coming out here and book one of the most sought after jobs in the industry at the time, was, you know, a really crazy experience. So, like, yeah, I mean, like, obviously that was, like, the first moment that I was like, wow, I'm, like, really doing... And also, a lot of the dancers...
Year was
that was, let's see, I think 2012? Well, no, like, maybe back end of 2012, 2013.
I think the last episode last season of X Factor I watched was the one that Camila Cabello was on.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Britney Spears was one of the judges. Oh, you mean, when she was actually a contestant.
A contestant.
Oh, I would, like, I'm so advanced in my thought of her now that, like, I forgot that's where they were birthed out of.
Yeah, Fifth Harmony, she was in a girls band, a girls group.
Yeah.
I think that was around that time. I was wondering if you were on it.
Oh, that's so crazy. I feel like I don't have a memory of that, but I have a memory of them, but I don't know if it was the same season I did.
Maybe it was, and you're just like, wow, she was not Camila Cabello. She was Fifth Harmony.
Yeah. I don't know. But, yeah, so, you know, that obviously was, like, a really big moment. But I would say that, like, a moment that it's hard to narrow it down to just one. I mean, I think my most recent one, I booked my first feature film called Don't Worry, Darling. It was directed by Olivia Wilde,
Dope.
Florence Pugh.
What's the movie called?
Don't Worry, Darling.
Oh, Don't Worry, Darling. Okay.
Yeah, it's alright. It came out, I think 6 months ago. Maybe a little longer.
Cool.
I don't know.
That's big.
My ability
Congrats.
to, like,
so
see
cool.
time now might have been longer. I don't know. But anyway, so there was a really cool moment about, like, you know, being a part of a film like that, feeling like actually, you know, pretty featured, and getting to see myself in the theater. Like, that was kind of a trippy moment, and having like you know.
You were on the Laker TV show too as well, right?
Winning Time. I was a Laker girl.
Laker girl. Come on, Laker girl.
Yeah, I was a Laker
Old school Laker girl.
Old school Laker girl.
Flowy skirts and everything.
I mean, that was like, I would never want to live like 70s or 80s. I'm like so much more of like a 40s, 50s type of gal.
Oh, just skip that. Skip those
That
generations.
big hair. My poor hair suffered so much on that show.
Very voluminous.
Oh, my hairstylist was like, you poor thing. I was like,
oh, it was your real hair? Real hair? Real hair?
Well, last season, they wigged me. It's coming out on August 9th, I think. But they wigged me, which I was so glad because my hair suffered. All that curling and teasing and hairspray and then falling and doing it again was taxing.
Yeah, how was that process? I mean, it looks so glamorous on the outside, but makeup every single night for gigs or TV shows and stuff like that, and hair every single day. Like most girls don't get that. Most girls don't get to put makeup on every day, or they don't want to, and they don't necessarily do their hair every day. It's like ponytail or this and that. Like, how's that?
I mean, I like I said, since I was a kid, like I love dressing up, and so for me, like I feel like I still get to play dress up as an adult, and
those tease costumes are wild,
crazy, gorgeous, so beautiful,
so wild,
so beautiful.
It's like those headpieces. I'm just like, what's up with those feathers?
And the thing is, it's like, it's not like you're like, oh, I'm so comfy, but there's something about putting something like that on that you just like, it transports you. Like you just feel the way wearing something like that can make you feel is just like.
If you guys don't know what we're talking about, it's like Tease Production is a like showgirl.
It's like an entertainment company, production company, yeah.
And you guys wear very elaborate costumes?
Yeah. Very elaborate pieces, very elaborate costumes. And
this is like out of this world. Like, it's very fantasy.
Yeah, I think it's, definitely up there with some of the best.
Like, think Great Gatsby. Times 2. It's not quite times
2. Yeah, no, it's really cool. I mean, it's really cool, and it's so funny because it's like, it's not necessarily anything that's like in the industry as far as like something that your agents would be booking you on or anything like that, but the amount of messages I get from like other dancers, like, how did you get involved in this? Like, how can I audition? It really is something that's really, really cool to be a part of, and we kind of have our, little family, and the girls are just so talented. I mean, the roster of girls that Donna has is Donna Hood. Shout out Donna Hood. It's really wonderful, and so from the choreography to the costumes to the humans that are involved in the project, it's just such a beautiful thing to be a part of, and it's really fun, and it's funny. We also get to be a part of these like really big moments for people,
how's
like a
witnessing?
wedding,
how's
or
witnessing
like
that?
It's cool, you know that you're a very memorable part of a once in a lifetime day, unless you have 17 husbands, which some do, but like
17? That's
I know that was a little.
I'll be impressed with that. I'll be impressed with
4.
5. 4? Okay.
4 sounds about right for LA. But yeah, I mean, and that's not necessarily something that like you get to be a part of in the actual industry, So that's definitely a cool aspect of it. But yeah, I mean, wearing costumes like that, don't get me wrong, like sometimes those things are uncomfortable. Some of those shoes you wear, some of the things that you walk away with, like it's hard, like it's hard in a different way, and it's like so funny. You're like, oh, my job, I feel so blessed to be able to do this and make money this way, and then you're like, but there's a price to pay. There is like there's sometimes that like
my pores aren't breathing, my heels hurt. Dude. My calves are cramping up.
Yeah, like you just like experience some things that you're like this is enough to make people crack under torture. Like they would give out some vital information under these circumstances, you know? But yeah, no, I mean, I love it. I think it's a part of why I wanted to get into this industry in the first place. It really is fun, and I love fashion, and I love kind of wearing eccentric things and playing that way, and having characters, like I love a good character, So.
What does fashion do for you? What does the clothing that you wear do for who you are as a person?
I mean, I think it just elevates me as a person as far as like my mood, my creativity, like having an outlet to kind of like be a character that I want to be, you know, I can do that, you know, if I'm like, oh, I want to go back in time and be, you know, pinup girl, like I can do that, you know, or if I'm like, I want to be your biker bitch today, like I can go do that.
I'm feeling
you know,
the biker bitch vibes.
I know I do have my biker bitch vest on, so you know what I mean. Like I think it's really cool, and it makes you feel different things, and it's fun like when you're out and about and you feel confident and you feel like unique and playful and alive in what you're wearing. Like to me, I love that. I also love being comfortable and like casual, but like you can make fashion choices with that too, like wearing really oversized hoodies and like monochrome colors, and then like, you know, a cool clip in your hair or something, like, you know, tons of jewelry. Like there's ways to still be so comfortable and like effortless, Style but still feel like you're like, I'm a vibe.
You know? I'm a vibe. What do you call it? What's your definition of creativity?
What's my definition of creativity? I mean, I think it's just an expression of your heart, your desires, your imagination, your I don't know, a lot of the time I think creativity is something that we wish existed that doesn't, you know. I think it's
creativity is something that you wish existed but doesn't.
You know, like if you feel compelled to
like make it happen.
Yeah, if you feel compelled to be creative, like I think that it's because you have inspiration that you want to bring to life, you know, like, and even if it's like inspired by something else, like that's, you know, doesn't mean like it's not creative. Like it's like, I may see someone that I'm like, that's cool. I wonder if I try something like that. You know what I mean? And then I do it, and then I'm like, oh, and then it inspires me to do something else, whether that's movement, whether that's clothing, whether that's decorating my apartment. You know what I mean? Like it's like kind of this like spiral of creating something, like I said, that like, you know, is an extension of who you are and what you want around you, and you maybe don't have and doesn't exist, you know.
Outside of dance, what forms of creativity, or like how do you use your creativity? Well,
I do love like interior design. I don't even know, that sounds very official. I don't even know if you can call it interior design, but I love.
Are you interiorly designing things?
I mean, I guess, yeah. I mean,
what's your go-to? Like, what's your vibe? If someone was like, favorite interior design theme.
We call our apartment Nana's Wonderland.
Nana's Wonderland. Yeah, why is it Nana's Wonderland?
What's Nana's Wonderland? I mean, I think we came up with Wonderland because it's very colorful. Like,
let me tell you.
I'll tell you. It's very colorful. Like, I feel like, you know, especially right now, like what's in is like, you know, very cool, white, like, I don't know, clean, I don't know, and it's just so not that, like, it's like rainbow spit up everywhere, you know, but like in a good way, you know, like,
in the best way possible.
In the best way, you know. And then we just like also really love like vintage things. Like I, especially during COVID, like I got like pretty obsessed with Facebook Marketplace, and the things I found on there, like, I mean, the best, and plants. Like, I love to decorate with plants in life. One, it's something that's like a responsibility that you have to take care of, and it makes you appreciate it that much more.
My fair share of plants, guys.
I know, I've killed a few, but not very many, but a few. Yeah. I've had a few tragedies, unfortunately. I named all my plants, and then I had a tragedy, and I was like, I can't do it to name all.
You named all your plants?
It was COVID. I mean, I was really bored.
Yeah, what did you do during COVID? I was like,
hey, Alfred.
What did you do during COVID?
Man, what did I do during COVID? You know, something I did during COVID that I'm like, I was just so grateful for is I went camping for like 2 weeks. Yeah. You know, things were getting pretty crazy in LA.
To Zion, right?
We went to Zion, and we also went to the Eastern Sierras, like Mammoth kind of area. And yeah, honestly, it was such a great experience. And I don't know, I always say, and something that I want to continue to remind myself of is like, there's something really magical about removing yourself from being surrounded by like man-made things and putting yourself in a place where you're surrounded by God-made things, you know, things that are just bigger and greater and like exceed any realm of your understanding. Like there's just something that it does to you, you know? And I
think your body feels it.
Yeah, I think everything feels it. Yeah. And so, you know, we went camping and we started in Zion, which, you know, was amazing. We're like standing there on like a top of, you know, Angel's Landing, and we're like, wow, should we name our child Zion? Is our firstborn going to be Zion boy? But yeah, it really was such a magical experience. And we went to, you know, Bryce Canyon too, and bounced around to a few places. And yeah, we really found ourselves in like a place of servitude as well. Like we kept finding ourselves in these opportunities to just kind of help the people around us. And we were very aware of all of those things. And like I said, it's just something about being out in nature and something that's bigger than you that like brings that out within you. And so that was a really, really beautiful thing that we did. And then
such a weird time.
And we met some really cool people. Yeah. You know, we went to the Eastern Sierra and met this guy named Lauren who he was a millionaire. And he was the campsite host at the location we found. And you know, we ended up socializing with him a little bit, and he previously was a millionaire. He had some great success with a business and his family. And he just, you know, kind of talked about how he was like out on the golf course one day with like Dip and Chip or something like that. Dick and Chip or something, you know. He's being funny.
Okay, yeah.
And, you know, they're talking about how they're like cheating on their wives with their secretaries and like all this stuff. Secretaries. And he just was like, what am I doing, dude? Yeah. Like, what am I doing? And so he literally left, signed all of his stuff over to his daughter, and like just kind of became a nomad. And I was like, how do you feel? And he was like a new man, like me again. Like, I can breathe. Like, I have peace of mind, peace of heart, peace of spirit. Like, all things that he felt like he lost in a different kind of success, you know? Yeah. So like I said, there's something about stripping down all of the things that distract us and kind of vie for our attention that we deem to be so worthy and shiny that actually kind of hinder us, you know? So
that's beautiful.
Thank you.
Well, the thing is, like, back to just us being in especially our industries, me like training people who have a lot of objective success, right? And you being around a lot of objective success with the people you work with or the parties that you are dancing at. For me personally, like, I've had a lot of conversation with them, and a lot of them are not happy. You know, so it made me rethink things about 2-3 years ago. I was like, what does happiness mean to me? You know, and for me, that is doing what I want to do when I want to do it with the people who I want to do it with. Yeah. You know, and I was like, if you could have enough money in my head to fund a place to live and the things that you want to do and buy dinner or drinks for some friends once in a while, that's happiness.
You're solid.
I was like, that's what's up.
Yeah, and it's funny that you bring this up because it actually has been a conversation I've had with a few of my friends recently, like this idea, like, what is happiness? Because I find that, you know, no matter where you're at, you're always chasing the next thing. And I don't know if that's just because we live in a place where possibilities are endless, and that's a beautiful thing.
And possibilities are promoted.
Right? Possibilities are endless and possibilities are promoted, absolutely. You go to other countries and the approach to work is very, very different, you know? But I think that it can be so toxic, you know? It's kind of like beautiful that we have this opportunity, but we don't know when to like pause and just rest in gratitude. And so, I don't know. I think that a lot of the conversations that I've been having lately have been talking about the idea of fulfillment versus satisfaction. You know, are you spending your time doing things that are satisfying, but then when they're over, you're depleted again and you need your next high, you need your next hit, you know? Or are you residing in a space that is truly fulfilling you so that you take that feeling of happiness wherever you go in whatever circumstances, you know? And I think it's hard to distinguish the two sometimes. And a lot of people everywhere, but especially in a place like LA, live in a place of satisfaction versus fulfillment and are consistently chasing that. And that's why it's never enough. And that's why
go to Zion, guys.
Go to Zion, do But don't name your kid that. That's our baby name.
Oh, is it actually a thing? Is it?
No, I'm not kidding.
Oh, you're being serious.
I'm doing it. Shoot, I shouldn't have said anything.
Fuck.
Everyone's gonna take it. No, it's fine. But seriously, don't.
Don't take it, guys.
Don't do it, please. Don't.
What do you call it? What's the importance of travel to you? Like, outside of national parks and nature things?
Man, that's a great question, Nate. I feel like travel is really important because it just expands the horizon of your mind. It expands your understanding of human connection, human relationship, worldly functions. I just think it rounds you as a person. You know, it allows you to be just better equipped for all the things.
How so?
Like, for example, you know, I spent a lot of time in China, and you know, you kind of go through a little bit of culture shock when you go to these places that are just so different. I felt that a little bit in India as well. But something that I always told myself in my travels was like, all right, like I want to embrace, like I don't want to be an American in China. I want to come in and really like embrace the culture of things here, things that may seem weird, things that may seem off-putting, and just really experience what that's like. And
what was something that was weird or off-putting that you wanted to, I guess, like embrace?
Well, something that was weird and off-putting that I wanted to make sure I understood and wasn't put off by was like kind of the lack of spatial awareness and like this idea of manners that we have here. Like
everybody's so close.
Everyone's so close.
That's how I felt in Japan. Everyone's just like,
oh, it's so crazy. Yeah. Everyone's so close, and like bumping into someone is like normal. There's no, excuse me, I'm sorry. Like that's totally not a thing there. And I think at first, like I was like,
yeah.
You know, like, what the heck, man?
Give me some more bruises, guys.
Yeah, like, are you trying to fight?
What the heck, man? Trying to fight?
Yeah, and then I realized, like, hang on a second. Yeah. Like, this is not someone, you know, being disregarding to who you are or disrespectful. Like, things are different here, and you're in a different space, and you need to understand that. And there's no harm that's meant in how some of these people are functioning. It's just different, you know, and things like that I think are just more valuable even here because we do live in a melting pot, and you see how much conflict is in the world right now, or in the States especially right now, of course the world, but the States because of that, you know. And I think that like when everyone has a little bit more experience of things outside of the States, like there's a little bit more harmony I think that exists there. There's a little bit more understanding. Things like, you know, racism and things of this nature, I think they kind of just dissipate a little bit because you're not so quick to judge. You're not so quick to be off-put. Yeah. You're quicker to understand and embrace, you know. So, I don't know. I think there's a massive value in traveling, and not just like traveling, but like traveling and truly like letting go of your expectations of how things should be when you're doing things, and really embracing like what is there to be done and how other people do things, you know. I think that's really when it's kind of
just go with the flow type of deal.
Yeah, super effective. And it's like really crazy, like, you know, when I was in India, everyone was like, Taylor, be careful. Are you sure? I'm like, what the heck? Yeah, like I'm so excited, you know. And obviously you want to be aware when you're traveling. You want to understand that you are in a different place that you don't completely understand. Also, people are just scared for you
because they've never been there. They don't understand it. They don't understand.
Right. And bad things can happen anywhere, you know. And of course, yes, the odds of something bad happening to you when you're in a place that's completely foreign to you and you don't know how to function through, does it go up? Probably. But also,
let's forget about that real quick.
Right. Whatever. But also, like, the opportunity that exists to experience some things that are going to grow you as a person is like so great if you let them. If I walked around India in fear and didn't allow myself to have conversations with people or embrace some of the things around me, like my experience and the way that it affected me would be night and day from what it was, you know. Like, just like we were filming this music video, and we were like in one of these slums, and
slums? What's a slum?
Yeah, a slum is like, you know, like poverty, if you will, like just a place that like, it's not like homeless, but it's just like, you know, not as nice of a place, you know, to live. And we were there and we were filming this music video, and there was this mom, and they had literally, I kid you not, had this apartment, and I'm trying to like look at your space to try and describe the size of it, but it was like, their apartment was like the size of your kitchen and bathroom, and they had 3 children and 1 bedroom, and obviously a husband and a wife, and they were so kind. They were so kind, and I was like sitting outside, and it was really, really hot, and we couldn't really communicate because we didn't really speak the same language. Like we did a little bit, but you know, this woman came out and she was like, invited me in, and of course, naturally, like part of me is like, this feels like a bad idea, like, you know, but there was just something in me that was like, felt like the innocence within it. And long story short, she ended up taking me back to their bedroom, which I was like, oh, you made a bad choice, girl. But no, she took me back there, and she like turned the air conditioning on for me, so that like that they only do for special occasions, you know, and so I could sit in their air conditioned one room in their tiny apartment and just have some relief. So being able to experience that kind of kindness from someone who has so little, and the desire to help and kind of pay it forward in whatever way you can, regardless of what you have, like, is a really cool experience, because unfortunately that can be absent here in a place where people have so much, you know. So I would have never had that opportunity if I like lived in fear the whole time that I was there, you know. So
yeah, I feel like people take it for granted, you know, like sometimes, like when I'm driving and I have low gas and I'm like, yeah, I can't turn on the AC, or I might my car might run out of gas. I was like, whoa, one, you have a car, dude. 2, you have the ability to have like AC on. Like most people, I mean, if you can even compare it to LA, most people don't have a car, or a lot of people don't have a car. Like, there's so many people outside who don't have AC, and it's only 90 degrees out here. You could be living in Arizona, and it's 120 over there right now. Right. You know, and then you make even further to a different country to where you were at. You're like, 4 people live in a kitchen size. Yeah. You know, and you're like, wow.
It really is mind-blowing.
It puts shit in perspective.
It really does. And, you know, it's like, you always got to come back to a place of gratitude, a lens of gratitude, because it is the pathway to joy. Like, that's biblical. You know what I mean? And it's true, no matter what you believe. Like, if you pause and you center yourself in what you do have, and realize the blessing of your life, you will experience so much more happiness than if you continually focus on what you feel like you're lacking. And truly, if you're always focusing on what you're lacking, you're never truly going to reap the benefits of what you have. You'll be blind to it. It will be wasted, you know? So that's definitely been something that I've been, you know, kind of trying to come back to in planning a wedding. You know, it can be very overwhelming and very stressful. And
a wedding in what way? Oh, you gonna have a wedding?
Yeah, planning my wedding.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a lot. Yeah. Like, it is like a whole job. I mean, boo, you know, princess problems, but like, it is, and it's very easy to start to resent it and become overwhelmed by it and stressed and snap and all of these things. And it's like, but at the very core of it, I've found a person that I want to spend the rest of my life with, that I feel like has truly been designed for me. I have family backing. We get to come together and celebrate, because there are so many people that want to support us. Like, these are all such beautiful things. So how can I remember that as I'm getting stressed because, you know, so-and-so didn't come through with this, or this quote is different than this, and this contract didn't get signed, you know what I mean? And it's helped me a lot, because there was a moment that I was like,
first world problems compared to what we were talking about.
1,000%. Yeah. 1,000%, you know, 1,000%. So yeah, traveling's great. Travel. Open your horizon of your mind.
Yeah. For me, like, I think I went out of the country for the first time only 2 years ago, but I've hit a few spots. Like, I hit Europe, I hit Japan, I hit Mexico, and it really opened my mind to just different cultures, and it made me realize just how different the way we run things in the United States compared to everywhere else. It just puts a different perspective of our reality, because most people's reality is only what's in front of them. It is their reality, because they don't know. Yeah. You know? What do you What are you most excited for in your life right now?
You know, I feel like I'm in a very transitional part of my life right now.
You okay?
Well, school me. Wow, choking on transitions. They can be difficult.
I guess.
I felt it coming. I was just like,
She felt it coming.
I'm gonna cough. Yeah, I feel like I'm in a very transitional part of my life right now, and I've been, you know, very career driven, as we kind of talked about, since I was 12, which is insane.
It's weird to say for people who are in the professional space that they're like, for a doctor or something, that their life starts at like 35, you know. Yours professional, like, career life was starting from a very young age.
Yeah. And so I think that I've been so focused on dance. Like, I describe it like this. Like, my eyes have been fixated on this thing. And it's like I'm feeling like I'm getting to that point in my life where, like, it's like I'm finally able to kind of turn my head and look at something else. You know, like, for a while I was doing like this. Like, for a year I was like, I know I want to look somewhere else, but I just can't do it.
Yeah.
But now I feel like just focusing on just kind of life stuff, man. Like, I think when you're an artist or you're someone that's self-employed, it's really easy to just, career is everything. Like, I've missed weddings, I've missed baby showers, I've missed lots and lots of family vacations, you know, really big moments that, like, in the span of my life, when I'm on my deathbed, like, those really are the moments that I think I'm going to want to look back on and hold dear and smile about, you know, that will really stick. And I think that I have had my mind open in that way. And this year I've definitely just kind of focused on some of those more life things, you know, family, friends that have had children and stepped into a new space in their life. And, you know, kind of just doing things outside of myself. I know we spoke about this a little bit, but I've gotten, like, pretty involved in my church and in the children's ministry. And,
how's it working with kids? Like, what do you love about working with little humans?
Man, I just love kids. I've always loved kids. I've always had a very, like, maternal instinct. My youngest brother is 10 years younger than me, so, like, I think naturally when he was born, like, I just kind of, you know,
I'll take care of you.
Yeah, like, I wanted to help my mom. I wanted, you know, and I did a lot. So, yeah, I don't know. I just feel really passionately about kids. I feel really passionately about giving them something to believe in that's greater than themselves, to hold on to when they feel alone, when they feel abandoned, when they feel scared, when they feel hopeless. You know, I think there's a lot of that going on in the world right now, and there's a lot of content that's being consumed by children that is
not the healthiest?
Not the healthiest. Yeah, not the healthiest. And they live in a time of comparison and judgment and constantly looking into other people's lives that aren't theirs, you know, that's the best of whatever that person's life in that makes them feel less than, or, you know, whatever it may be. And I just think, you know, again, we kind of spoke about this a little bit, but just like with, like, suicide rates going up and the age by which that children are deciding that this is an option for them, it's just really heartbreaking to me. And so I do feel really passionately about being involved in something that, like, just exposes them to good life-filled things, you know, hopeful things.
Not life-taking things.
Yes. That, like, it's just that, like, peace without understanding that, like, you don't think a child could have an element of understanding for or, like, even the ability to embrace it, but I've seen it happen. And it's the children that I see that, like, you know, absorb this idea of something that's bigger than them and something that's always by their side no matter what they're experiencing. Like, it's really touching and it's really, really powerful. And then you see them innately go out and be more kind to other humans and listen better and be more disciplined, all things that, like, down the road are going to help them in their adult life. And
well, that's one thing I think now, especially now that it's becoming cool again, is be kind, be nice, be a good person. Yeah, like, I guess, like, when I grew up in probably middle school, elementary to middle school, high school days, is like, be a dick. Like, girls like assholes type of deal.
I know it.
I was like, yo, what do you mean?
Who started that?
It's a
bad idea.
Get that shit out of here, bro. You know? And I feel like being a nice person, being kind to people, like listening and really caring about like what someone else is saying, you know, and really put it in your brain, interpret it, and then give a proper feedback in a way that both of you guys can grow as a small child, like will exponential their growth in life.
I totally agree. And, you know, just having the ability to deal with like conflict, you know, and that's a lot of what we teach, you know, is like, you know, the history of certain people and the conflict that they dealt with and how they were able to get through it. And,
well, that's the whole thing about life, right? It's like problem solving,
baby. And we have got to equip problem solving, baby. Yeah. We got to equip these kids with the ability to, problem solve, because the reality of the situation is a lot of them are being faced by things that feel life ending or feel like they can't overcome or be bigger than, and it's just, you can always overcome something, you can always be bigger than something. There's always, it's never, you know, the end. Like there's always an option of some sort, and you're in a position to make a choice, and you can either choose to let something completely defeat you and crush you and ruin you, or pivot, and you can use it to like create something beautiful and be stronger and be more and be better refined to go out and deal with certain issues, or maybe have compassion for certain issues, you know, things that I just don't think are really introduced or thought about all that much anymore. It's really interesting. So yeah, it's crazy working with kids, seeing, you know, all of those things. It's crazy. I was always like, I'm a boy mom. I'm gonna have boys. And then I like have a bunch of brothers in my class, and they'll like do crazy stuff, like, you know, jump up and like kick their brother with like both their feet at once, and like catapult their brother across the room and like rip down our like church sign or whatever. And I'm like, I need a girl. I have to have at least one girl. You know, they're just crazy.
That's wild. How old?
I know. I have the 5 to 7 year olds.
That's a wild age.
It's a wild age. And boys, you know, boys love to be physical and rowdy, and I love that. Like that's definitely not something that I want to like ever, you know, kind of dumb down in a child. Like I think being physical and being outside and being adventurous is like a beautiful thing that like unfortunately a lot of kids are kind of losing the.
Well, I think the physical part of it is something that I'm really been looking into and saw some studies about as well. Is like a lot of men are not having like these physical traits anymore, like of toughness, of like being able to stand their ground, or even having the courage to ask like a girl on a date, you know, because on the opposite side of it, it's like people put that down. It's like, oh, you're being too masculine right now.
Yeah, the masculinity is so under attack. It's so
under
crazy.
attack, you know? And I was like, when something bad happens, don't you want those masculine traits though? You know? It's like, it's the good balance. It's like to be able to have those, but also be like a good person, you know?
Yeah, and I think a lot of like what the conversation needs to be is like, how can someone still embody strength and masculinity, but be compassionate and be vulnerable? Like, and how can we make those two things commingle versus like no masculinity ever? Because I know if, you know, hits the fan, like I want someone that's like ready to go, you know, I want someone in my life that, you know, is strong and ferocious and has that protector quality. And it's very interesting. It's very, very interesting. The world's a crazy place, man.
Especially where we live.
Yeah, it's a crazy place. I mean, I always say, you know, I love that it's a place where people can come and like discover themselves and chase a dream. But man, there's so much confusion. I
Definitely
feel like
confusion's a good word.
Yeah, that can come along with that. You
confusion,
know,
conflict.
Sometimes too many options is not
way too many options. We got way too many options out here.
It's overwhelming.
It's like, what do you want to fight about today? I'll let you know.
I know. I'm like,
what do you want to choose from?
I just don't want to. I just really don't want to.
Can we just hang out and not fight about random shit?
Yeah, for sure.
What do you call it? Wrapping it back around before we close up. What advice do you have to, I guess, the little Taylors of the world, who are these dancers out there who are grinding their gears, doing their ballet, their jazz, their whatevers, and they're seeing, I don't know, you like doing the thing. And they were like, oh, this is such a saturated industry or this and that. And like, they're having maybe some folks outside of their parents telling them like, oh, no way you could do that. Like, no way, it's busy. Like, that's such a dream that you can't achieve. Like, what do you tell them?
Well, I think that, you know, you can do anything that you put your mind to. Anything that you're willing to sacrifice for, you can do. And I think that anybody telling you you are incapable is a fool. And that's not somebody that you should ever be, you know, shouldn't allow to decide your future. If you feel deeply within your soul that you're designed to do something and you very passionately want to do it, I mean, I think you ferociously chase it. If you're going to do it, being someone that's driven by passion is difficult. I'm not going to lie, you know, it's a very difficult choice, but if you decide it, ferociously chase it, you know. And I think that my biggest piece of advice to the little tailors out there is just spend the time to cultivate and strengthen your mind. You know, we spend so much time as dancers and athletes working on our body, our technique, our craft. And I know for me, like, that wasn't the thing that made me falter and stumble when I moved out here. It was like the feelings of doubt, the feelings of insecurity, the feelings of getting in my own way, because my mind was not strong enough to withstand some of the attacks that I was experiencing in trying to chase my dreams, you know? So anytime I've taught, you know, a dance class or anything like that, my kids, sometimes they're like, this lady's crazy. But, you know, we'll sit in a circle and I'll say, okay.
Come on, circle.
I know. Like, everybody circle up.
Crisscross applesauce.
They're like, can we just do the splits? I'm like, okay.
Is it crisscross? I mean, is it a circle in the splits, like toes to toes?
Oh, no, but that would be a good idea. Maybe it'd be like the best of both worlds. There's still time to change.
There you go.
But yeah, I'll be like, you know, okay, like we'll warm up, and then I'll be like, all right, let's sit in a circle. And part of this I actually took from, you know, my acting class as well. And I'm like, okay, now I want you guys to imagine all the things that keep you from being the best version of yourself, the thoughts that come and tell you that you're not enough, whether it be like, oh, I can't kick as high as Susie, or she has those new Nikes that I wanted and I don't look cool, so no matter how, you know, whatever it is that, like, that gets in your way of doing what you love and seeing yourself shine and exude all the talent that you've been given. I want you to imagine it, and I want you to just see it burst into 1,000,000,000 billion teeny tiny pieces to never exist again. It has no power over you. It's not what you're here to focus on. And you know, just kind of implement ideas like that. I feel like, you know, just because,
just like all these problems are just in your head.
Dude, it doesn't matter. Like, I've been dancing with on stage with some of the biggest artists in the world, and hated myself and my time because I couldn't stop thinking about, why am I here? Are they thinking about never hiring me again? Oh my gosh, what if I mess up? Like, you know, my dad used to say to me, he's like, Taylor, it's so sad. Like, I've never seen somebody live up to every dream that they've ever had and be so miserable. You know, and that's really sad.
That's super sad.
That's really sad. And that's like a blessing squandered, you know? So I think, in doing, even still in my professional career, you know, are my hands in my pocket?
Come on, biker girl. She's like, I'll fuck with you real quick, guys.
What the heck? But yeah, just like even still, like in doing certain intensives or class or whatever that like will provide a space to kind of share what people are struggling with, it's always mental. It's always a feeling of insecurity. It's always a feeling of fear. It's always like this insane just hook that is really deep in people's hearts and minds. And so I think if we put just a little bit more effort into strengthening that aspect of, you know, the little Taylors or, you know, the little Nates or whatever that like aspire to come out and do what we've done, like, that's what I would say, 100%, for all the studio owners out there, for all the people that are involved with directing, you know, children and teaching children, like, teach them that. teach them that.
And if you don't have that knowledge, like, you could learn that as an adult as well.
It's a hard lesson, though.
Yeah.
It's a hard lesson. I mean, it's still something, like I always say, like, that's like my thorn in my side, you know, that's a battle that, like, I fight constantly. Daily. And it's paralyzing. It sucks. It's the worst to be in a position where, like, you're so blessed, you've been given everything you've dreamed of, and be so miserable. Like, it's just it's not fun. So I think you know, kind of teaching our kids some metaphorical weapons, if you will, you know, that they can kind of fight those battles with before they find themselves completely consumed by them is something that I would recommend.
What do you call it for the feature film? Was it for dancing or was it for acting?
It was for dancing. Okay. But we'd had, you know, like our little, like, looks and, like, acting moments that way, but no lines. Not yet.
Is acting the next step after dance?
You know, for a long time, like, I was like, that is what, like, I
think you kill it. I'm just letting you know. I think you kill it.
It's definitely been something that, like, has been my idea of
trajectory.
Yeah, the trajectory for what's next for me. What dance I've learned that, like, dance is a segue, not a destination. I think, you know. I mean, for me,
the thing with dance is your body goes eventually.
Dude, like I said, 2 hip surgeries. Yeah. So I mean, I know exactly what that's like, and I it's not fun to live in pain every day. Like, I'm gonna be 30 next month, and the things that I have to deal with. Happy birthday. Thanks. 30 years old, man.
And wedding.
Crazy. I know. A bachelorette and 30th birthday at the same time.
Oh my goodness.
We're gonna go.
What a treat.
I know. I'm
excited. Next couple months are gonna be a blast.
I know. My friends are like, can't we just, like, go get drunk? I'm like, no, we're gonna go snorkeling. I, like, have all these, like, adventures planned.
Come on, snorkeling.
I know. I love swimming. But yeah, so yeah, I don't even. Oh yes, acting. Yeah, acting.
She's like,
of course,
please,
darling. Let's talk about acting.
Please let me talk about my wedding and bachelor party.
I know, I'll be very easily distracted. But yeah, I mean, that was always, like, you know, the next step for me, the dream. And like I said, like, this year has just been really transformational for me, and I just have had this really big passion and calling put on my heart for, like, youth and kids, and
maybe it goes that way.
Yeah, like maybe I'm gonna be, like, in ministry, like a child's pastor. Like, I don't
That'd
know.
Be cool.
You know, the options are endless. I don't know. And I'm open to whatever. I always say, like, yes, I have ideas and dreams and aspirations and ways that I would draw out my life, but I really want to do what I've been designed to do. And if that's being on the big screen in a feature film, great. And if that's in a small church teaching 3 kids, great. If it's leading a whole kids, you know what I mean? Like, I'm prepared to do kind of whatever it is that I've been designed to do, and receptive to whatever that, you know, is.
I love that. I think we'll end it there, my friend.
Yeah.
And where can everyone find you? Where can everyone find you? Nowhere.
I don't know why I did that. I was like, what do you mean?
She was like, I don't get this, Nate.
You can't find me anywhere.
Maybe she doesn't want to find you. Maybe she doesn't want you guys to find her.
I'm on Instagram. Every once in a while, I make an appearance.
She just doesn't like her Instagram sometimes.
I don't, you guys. Like, I just don't.
Taylor was giving a rant about how she hates Instagram for probably like an hour.
Yeah, I did. I feel pretty passionately about that. We could do a whole nother podcast on, like, Instagram, but, like, yeah, Tay_Dean might change soon, that I'm getting married. Yeah. My new last name's gonna be Ray. Okay. But probably keep the Dean. Oh, Taylor May Dean, right? It's such a mouthful.
We will update the handle whenever it happens.
I post there sometimes. My stories are really where it's at. Like, my page is, like, for work. But, like, my stories are funny.
Cool.
And silly.
Go check out her stories, guys. And we'll see you in the next one. Miss Taylor Dean, guys.
Yeah. Bye.